Today, we are going to get into one of the most dramatic U-turns in modern history. We're talking about how two nations that don't even share a border went from being quiet partners to the absolute brink of war. It's a story that honestly sounds almost made up, so let's just dive right in.
And let's be clear, this is the reality right now. For decades, this whole thing was a shadow conflict. A deadly game of chess fought with proxies, assassinations, and cyber attacks. But now, it's all out in the open. The missiles are flying, and the entire Middle East is just holding its breath.
And that's the big question, right? How did we get here? To really understand today's headlines, we have to go back and uncover a piece of history that's been almost totally forgotten, a past that seems pretty much impossible from where we're standing today.
So let's rewind the clock. Because before all the hostility and the headlines, there was this period of quiet, pretty pragmatic cooperation between Iran and Israel that has been basically erased from public memory.
No, really, it's true. Under the Shah, Iran was a monarchy. It was Persian, not Arab. And while most of the Arab world was in this state of constant conflict with Israel after 1948, Iran actually kept up normal diplomatic ties. They even worked together on intelligence and military stuff.
I mean, just look at this. The difference is just night and day. On one side, you've got the Shah's Iran, pro-Western, a quiet partner to Israel, and on the other, the Islamic Republic, fiercely anti-Western, and its entire ideology is basically committed to destroying Israel. So what on earth caused this huge shift?
It was one single event, 1 year, that completely redefined Iran, its relationship with the entire world, and, set it on a collision course with Israel. 1979, the Iranian Revolution. You have to understand, this wasn't just a change of government. It was a seismic event. It completely rewired the country's entire identity and its role in the world.
And this right here, this became the new worldview. Ayatollah Khomeini, the leader of the revolution, he set up this ideology where being hostile to the United States and its main ally, Israel, wasn't just, a policy. It was a core part of what it meant to be the new Islamic Republic.
And what's really staggering is just how fast this all happened. I mean, the Shah fled, Khomeini came back, and almost overnight, all the symbols of that old relationship were just torn down. Handing Israel's embassy over to the PLO, that was a huge symbolic statement. And then, of course, the U.S. embassy hostage crisis cemented this new hostile reality. It made any kind of normal relationship with the West totally impossible for a generation.
So, with direct war being way too costly and risky, Iran pivoted. The open, ideological fight turned into something a little more subtle, but honestly just as deadly. A decades-long shadow war fought through other people.
Okay, so you really have to get this one concept to understand the last 40 years of this conflict. Iran absolutely mastered the art of the proxy war, using other groups to fight its battles for it. And this strategy let it spread its influence and attack its enemies, all while kind of saying, hey, it wasn't us.
So how did this all come about? Well, after that brutal 8-year war with Iraq, Iran's leaders basically realized they couldn't afford another direct conventional war. So, the solution? Build a network of proxies. The most powerful one became Hezbollah in Lebanon, a militant group created with Iran's help specifically to fight Israel. The whole goal was to surround Israel with hostile forces, what they call a ring of fire.
And you can see on this timeline just how this whole shadow war kept escalating. So Iran builds up its proxies and starts going after nuclear capabilities. Israel sees that as an existential threat and responds with covert ops like the Stuxnet virus that literally broke Iranian nuclear centrifuges. Then you have diplomacy try to step in with the 2015 nuclear deal, but when that falls apart, it just leaves the whole region in an even more dangerous spot.
For decades, there was this unwritten rule: avoid direct state-on-state attacks. But recently, that rule was completely shattered. The shadow war has just burst out into the open.
The horrific attack on Israel on October 7th by Hamas, a group that's long been supported by Iran, was a massive catalyst. It set off this chain reaction, lighting up Iran's entire proxy network and giving Israel's government the political backing for a much more aggressive military response.
And Israel's response in Gaza was ferocious. It led to a humanitarian catastrophe. I mean, the death toll, over 40,000 people, sent these shockwaves of anger across the whole region. And it turned a really tense situation into an absolute tinderbox.
This timeline just shows you the rapid-fire, tit-for-tat escalation that came next. Israel bombs an Iranian consulate, which is a huge red line. Iran hits back with its first-ever direct attack on Israeli soil. Israel responds.
Then Iran strikes again after some key allies are assassinated. Every single step pushed them further out of the shadows, and it all culminated in this massive coordinated military campaign against Iran itself.
And this just gives you a sense of the sheer scale of that campaign. Yeah, this was not some limited surgical strike. We're talking about a comprehensive assault, hitting missile sites, targets in every single one of Iran's provinces, and even key government buildings in the capital. The Shadow War was officially over.
So that brings us to right now, to this incredibly volatile present. The bombs have fallen, but this conflict it's far from over. And now, the future of the entire Middle East is just dangerously uncertain.
And the thing is, the fallout from this open war has left us with a whole list of critical unanswered questions. I mean, will the Iranian government even survive this? Could this pressure actually lead to an uprising from the people? What about the Strait of Hormuz? If that stays closed, are we looking at a global energy crisis? And maybe the most terrifying question of all, is this just the beginning of an even bigger regional war? The stakes just could not be any higher.
So we've traced this incredible journey from a forgotten alliance to a revolutionary split and then a decades-long shadow war that finally exploded. We know how it all started, but as for how it ends, well, that's the chapter that's being written right now, in real time, with consequences for the entire world.